Hi everyone and welcome to part 7. Right, so we're going to make a start on this area here, but just before we do I'll just quickly mention a few little enhancements, if you like, that I've done on this area. I forgot to mention last time that I put a little bit of a shadow in, just down there, look, just for the drain pipe, and I put a little bit of a shadow just in this area as well. I noticed that that was in the picture and I'd left it out, so I've just gone round, had a bit of a check of things to make sure that everything that I want in the drawing is in there. Obviously I've left certain things out, like this looks like a letterbox or something just here, and there's some sort of brackets sticking out there. I've left those out, and obviously there's a little number or something, house number just there. I've left that out as well. And there's a few other little bits and pieces, little air vent or something there, and just something sticking out there. Feel free to put them in if you want to. I'm just going to leave them out and just, you know, get on with this area now. So yeah, only changes were a couple of shadows, just here and there, one there, and anything else that needs just refining, you know, now's a good time to do it, and then we can sort of call that section of the drawing finished, apart from this little bit of road, of course. Right, so with a 2H pencil, I'm just going to outline these tiles just a little bit darker. Might go in with an HB actually, but I'll just start with a 2H just to play safe. I think we could just put a little bit more pressure on that, and that'll be about right, I think. Okay, and then with a brush, I'm just going to go over that just to smear a little bit of graphite on there. Do you know, when I say I'm going to smear a bit of graphite, I'm not dipping this in graphite powder or anything like that. It's just basically, you can kind of see there, look, the brush is kind of, if my camera will focus on that, it's just kind of naturally coated in graphite anyway. So there's always just enough on there just to put the lightest layer of graphite down, as well as, you know, blend a little bit what's already there. So I'm not actually dipping the brush in the graphite. If I do dip it in, I will actually say, you know, I've charged the brush up with some graphite or something, but just a plain brush. Right, so now I'm going to go back in again with a 2H, and in fact we could get really sort of clever here if we wanted to. Get the magnifying glass on the job and just darken the line up again, and then just shade halfway up. So we darken the line again, and from that line we just add a little bit of shade, just going about halfway up, and we'll keep repeating that process. Is my magnifying glass in the way there? Let me just move that back a little bit, so it's increase that line and just shade on the top part of it. Trying to get the look that these tiles are actually, you know, cylindrical. Yeah, you probably can't see that with the naked eye. Probably wasn't even worth doing actually, but I'm just going to get the little brush on there and just blend along that shaded area that I've just put in. Let's just take a look at that. I think that'll pretty much do for that. Just a few little dots, just to suggest just a little bit of highlight on there. Don't want too much detail at this distance, but just a little bit, just to suggest the light, because that's the effect we're going for there, to try and get some light, you know, showing up there. Right, so one thing I really want to make sure of is that we don't get any graphite on the sunlit part of these buildings. I'm going to try and keep them as close to white paper as I possibly can. That'll enhance the effect of light then, even though it's probably not pure white in the drawing. I'm going to make sure it is, sorry, pure white in the reference. I'm going to make sure it is in the drawing because I think it'll just increase the overall effect of light and dark and give us more contrast. So what I'm going to do to start with is, with a 2H pencil, I'm just going to see if this tone's about right for these windows. Kind of make them a little bit darker along the top, or just in one corner or something, just to stop them from looking flat. Okay, and then we can see some darker lines on the eaves there. See that one? It's quite thick. And then we've got a very light tone along the edge of the tiles just here. In fact, that's really just part of the shade. I mean, we can just kind of darken up just a little bit on the top. We're going to need to go in with an eraser, I think, on this as well, because we'll probably shade over that. Well, we will shade over that with a 3H to try and get the effect of the shadow there. Okay, so we'll just concentrate on this top part of the building just to start with. I'm going to go in with a 3H now, and I'm going to actually put this side of the building in shadow and actually see what this looks like tone wise. Oops, sorry, I just knocked the board then. So I'll just start with some light pressure just to start with. I think that's looking okay, so I'll go over and do the rest. In fact, we've got to put this bit in shade as well, haven't we, along the edge of the roof there. And obviously there's a shadow cast on this front part of the building, and we'll do that in just a minute. We'll just get this shaded in first. Okay. I'll just give that a little blend, and we can see what the tones look like then. That's much better with a cotton swab on that bit. Now I think that's a pretty good match actually. Because in the reference photo, although the insert that you're seeing on the screen there looks very dark, very contrasty, you know, compared to the drawing, it's given a false illusion. Actually, it's not really like that. What I'm actually seeing on my computer screen in front of me is it's a lot more like this than this little insert, you know, in the corner of the screen. And I'm kind of looking at the tone that we've got here on the wall, and I'm matching it with that there, and I think it's a pretty good match. And for this as well, this is lighter than that, so I think we're just about right with the 3H pencil there to continue ahead and shade the rest of it in. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to shade in the front part of this building, and we've got to get the line of the shade right. Remember that the shadow is following the line of the roof. It's all in perspective, so just draw a very faint line in, just to make sure that you've got the right angle there, and just very lightly over that. Might need to go over the window again just to make that stand out a bit more. We'll go in with a 2H for that. Maybe even a touch darker just along the top edge there. Give that another layer there of graphite, and just to be on the safe side, I'm just going to make sure that I haven't smeared any graphite. Oops, I just erased some of the shadow there and gave myself a funny angle. Just want to make sure that I've not, smeared any graphite over that light area. I want to try and get the maximum contrast that I can there. Just darken up these tiles a little bit on this side. Yeah, I think that's looking okay. I think that'll be absolutely fine if we continue on like that. Now I've got this funny area just here in the gap. Now there's a little bit of roof just sticking out there, look, which is in shade. So we can use the 3H again just to shade that in. Make sure that that edge there is a little bit darker. It's just darker along there as well. I can't really see too well what actually goes on here. It looks like we've got, we've got another couple of rows of these tiles to put in, haven't we? We can just quickly do that with a 3H, just kind of match them in quickly. That'll do. And then it's like a shadow cast just there, and it's very similar tone to the building, so I'll just try and make it just a touch darker, just so it stands out. And I can see, well, I've kind of already put them in. I don't know, windows are they, do you think? It's kind of hard to see just there what's actually going on. And then there's, I think that might be a little bush or something just sticking out there. I think, pretty hard to see, but I think it is. I mean, we can just, well, we can come back to that area, in fact. We'll just leave that for now. I think maybe even just a little touch of HB just in that window, just at on the top part there. I know it's not really like that in the reference photo, but as I'm looking at it, it's kind of getting a bit too lost in there. So maybe just something like that. Okay, and again, we've got these windows here. You can see a little bit of lighter frame work around them and slightly darker in the middle. So I'll start with the 3H and just shade that entire shape in. With a 3H, and then very light pressure with an HB I think will probably be okay for this. Again, I'm trying to keep the angles there of the window and the perspective. I'm actually going to use the magnifying glass for this, and I'm just going to just make that darker in there. Right, so now I've got the door, and I've got that stone area on the top, and it's quite dark under that stone area there as well. But I'll just fill everything in first with a 2H. We've got some more plants hanging over that as well, haven't we? And there's actually another little window to the left of this. Don't think we've got much room to get that in. I might just leave that out. We'll go in with the HB now and just darken up just underneath that lighter stone there, and just try and taper the tone into the 2H so it just kind of fades, gradual fade downwards. We're going to need some sort of light tone actually on top of that stone, so we'll just put some 3H in there. It's very lightly like that, that should be fine. If you want to, if you've got a really small blender, you can just blend that tone, the darker area of the door, just down a little bit. Looks like I'm going a little bit darker than the reference photo, but I kind of like the look of it. I'll keep going like that. I mean, I can always lighten it up a little bit if I don't like it, but I'm kind of liking the look of it at the minute, so we'll stick with that. Right, so we've got the shaded part now of this roof. Now it gets a bit complicated here. We've got this kind of shape here that kind of comes into play, and it's got a shadow underneath which goes like that, and oh, it gets really funny there, doesn't it? So it comes off there, and oh dear, we're going to have fun with this one. We've got, it covers over the tops of the windows to start with. We've got to follow the angle of the roof as well, so let's try and get that right. And it looks like it kind of goes up there like that, and the top of that window, that's where the shadow goes across there. So we've got this funny shape going on just here. So just kind of lightly draw that in first. Okay, and then with a 2H pencil, just get the magnifying glass on there. Again, I'm going to shade these windows in. And there's an obvious darker line there on the left hand side, and it's fairly light in the rest of it. And it's tricky to get all the detail in on an A5. It's times like this where you wish you'd have gone for an A4 and you know, been able to get a lot more detail in on these windows, but because everything's so scaled down, it's going to be quite hard to get a lot of the detail in there. So all we can do is just suggest things, just make suggestions and impressions of what we see there. Again, we'll go in with the HB, and underneath the stone we've got a dark piece there, and then a dark line that runs along that side there. Okay, it is a little bit darker just underneath the bottom part of the stone as well, but not too much. we can do the same sort of thing on these windows here. And we'll put a little bit of darker tone in the middle there. And we'll see if we can try and get a bit of a window frame going on in that one as well. I can just kind of see a bit of window frame there, so we'll try and get that in. Okay, so what we'll do, I'll get the Tombow eraser. Now make sure it's really flat on the end and you've got a really nice clean edge around that. Get off any little bits there, and then with the magnifying glass, just very carefully just go like that, and then following the angles of the window frame, we can just maybe suggest a few little frames just going across like that. And they look very very wobbly at the minute, don't they? But we can go back in with a pencil and just straighten them up a little bit. Again, I won't spend too long doing this on camera because it'll bore you to tears, but basically this is the method. Just erase those window frames out, or you can draw round them initially if you want to save you the hassle of having to erase. No problem with doing that at all. Or you can do what I've done here and just erase them out and then go back in with a pencil and just get those lines nice and neat and try and keep them straight. Right, okay, so when that's done, we can go in now with a 3H pencil, and well, actually before we do that we need to darken up along this edge, don't we? Let's go in with an HB. For that we've got some sort of circle type ends to these roof tiles. Whoa, they're way too dark, way too dark. Maybe we'll go in there with a 2H then and do that. Got this kind of wavy edge. It kind of tapers off. It's quite dark there. Okay, there's some funny looking patterns under there actually. I don't really know what's going on too well, even when I'm zoomed in, but I can just see, I don't know what it is, some sort of lines there. Just put a few in. They'll probably get lost anyway when we put the shade in there. Okay, so we'll go in with the 3H now and we can start to shade this area in. careful around there to miss that bit. That white area there. I've got some grit in this pencil. It's not laying down smoothly. And we'll blend that in. We're definitely going to lose those lines that we put in there. We're going to have to put those in again. We might lose the tops of the windows a little bit as well, but again, we can go in and just touch up all these little areas that get smudged or blended a little bit. Okay, and we'll shade in this part just here as well. Let's get all this area finished. Now when you get just here next to this wall, this will be a good test for your tones, because this shadow is darker than this part of the wall. You know, it's more like that just there, so that'll be a great guide for you there to match your tones in with. Okay, then I'll just blend that in. And while we're about it, we'll shade this area in just here as well. Now, to make these areas like this stand out, you probably think, well, that's going to be tricky because it's the same tone as that, so it's all just going to look like one flat piece. Well, not necessarily, because what we're going to do is just slightly vary the tones a little bit, and we can also, just with the eraser, just put a very fine light area just on the top there. Just brush that a little bit, and then we'll just kind of just shade up to that. That's left us a little bit of a gap there, but we'll come back to that in a minute. So now we can just shade this area in like that, right up to the wall, and actually I've made a mistake there again, haven't I? Yeah, this section of wall just here, this broken bit of wall, it looks like, actually goes up more or less to the top there, doesn't it? About there, that's it. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just finish shading that area, and we can adjust the tones just very, very slightly. Just so that it does just stand out a little bit more. That white line I've got there is way too thick, actually. I'm just going to try and lose that a little bit more. Got a little bit of patchiness going on there. Let's just smooth that out. Okay, and what we can do is just try and darken up a little bit in this area, just around the base a little bit, just so that that area underneath just stands out a little bit more. Might need to just be lightened up just a fraction there. I've got that really patchy. Let's take that out and do that again. Right, we'll start again with this one. So we'll just change the tone slightly, just along the top there, look. So we get a lighter bit of tone, then a darker bit just above it. And that should give us enough contrast just to separate these two areas. And if we just brush that a little bit. That should be okay. Okay, now we've got this chimney. Now I've got a shaded side and a light side on this. Now the shaded side is darker than the actual shadow on the house, so we'll just put a practice line in there that's a little bit darker. I say a practice line, you know, it's really like a little helper line that just helps me just to gauge the tone a little bit more. And drop that in, leaving that white edge there. A little bit more texture on this chimney as well, that's going to be helpful because we can use that to make it stand out a little bit more from the house if we need to. You know, we can just add a little bit more, let's get the 2H on that, a little bit more like in the corners and things like that, a little bit of patina there, a little bit of staining and aging, particularly along that edge, because that'll really help to define that edge and separate the chimney from that building there. You know, sometimes in life these things can actually be exact tones. We're quite fortunate in this reference photo that we can actually see that there is a definition between them. This is a little bit darker than that one, mainly because it's kind of standing in front of it and it's a chimney. It's probably got a little bit of soot and weathering on there, and this is the sort of thing you kind of have to make up. You know, some drawings you get where maybe like all of the roofs are the same tone, exactly the same tone, and they're all kind of overlapping. You just have to do these tricks like this, just make like one edge darker. Not a pencil line, you know, we're always looking to lose the line because, you know, we're not doing a pen and wash or we're not drawing a cartoon or anything like that. We're going for realism. So we don't want pencil lines showing. So the thing to do is just increase the tone just a little bit there, look. And in this area just here, where we've got the white of the chimney, it's not standing out too well, so I'm just going to increase the tone a little bit more and just feather it out a little bit just on the side of the building, just so we get more contrast there with the white on the chimney. Just very light layers. I think that looks okay. I might as well put the detail in there on the chimney as well. So we've got this darker area just here. And it's really dark under there. You see there's like little archway pieces there. There's little openings in it. Cool, that's tricky. You'll need your magnifying glass for this one. And we've got some sort of lighter stone on top. I'm just going to keep this simple actually, just put that flat tone in there. This area here is a bit lighter. I'm going with an HB pencil and we'll just put the darks in just on this arched area, 2 small arches. And a bit darker under there. And again, if that looks too dark, just a little tap with the kneadable eraser, and that'll just take away that obvious stark darkness there. Just removes just a light layer of graphite. And again, I want to make sure that I've got a nice white area on the sunlit bit, so I'm just going to remove any graphite smears that are on that chimney. Keep it nice and light. Okay, this one's nice and easy. It's just the shadow colour, isn't it, really? Sort of 3H. I'll just use the 2H. You know, even though it looks like it's flat in the reference photo, it can pay you just to vary the tones a little bit. You can add as much interest and as much detail as you want, really. And the opposite is true as well. You can leave as much as you like out, but you make the decisions in your drawings of what you think looks nice. I think maybe just a little bit darker at the top of the window there. Although this is kind of well, it's more in the distance than this. We've got a lot more detail showing on this. I don't want to make this look too distant. For me, this is the focal point. That's the area that I'm kind of focusing on and looking at and thinking, I wonder what's around that corner. Is it another beautiful street like this one? Or, I love the way the sun's catching it. So I want the focus to kind of be on this area. Okay, we ought to do something with this area again, haven't we? Just put these lines back in again. That tapers off onto the edge of the roof, and again it's quite dark just there. We'll probably go in with the HB actually, fairly light pressure. And we've got a little bit of roof just showing there, and it's lighter than the roof, well, the wall actually at the back of it there. So just very light pressure with a 3H, because we've got some plants, some bushes, some trees in that area there. So I'm just going to smear just a light bit of graphite just to suggest there's something there, and that'll get covered over with the leaves. Kind of lost this edge a little bit just here. I'm just going to increase the tone a little bit more there. We'll taper it out a little bit as well. See how these very subtle little adjustments look, just like that. And just make these areas stand out more. Right, so now I think we could just put these leaves in now. So they do look a little bit individual and overlapping and that sort of thing. It's not like a tight squiggleism like this, you know, it's more of a effect like this sort of thing. Let's make sure we keep that line there as well. See a few twigs, bits and pieces sticking out there as well. Just thinking a little bit more there might look nice actually, just breaking up this edge a little bit more, I don't know. So I might make this a little bit bigger actually, it might work nice in the picture if I do. Yeah, something like that will be fine I think. Okay, and while we've got the HB out, we'll put this darker tone that's on the side of this wall just here. Just draw the shape in a little bit first. It goes something about like that, doesn't it? And that comes down to there, that's right. So it's quite dark on the top there, and then it starts to get lighter. And a little bit textured as well, just underneath here. So I might need to go to the 2H, but I'll just very lightly with the HB, just see if I can do it. Okay, I think, yeah, that's going to be alright. Just very light pressure with an HB. It looks like it gets a touch darker again, just at the bottom. I'll just blend that in a little bit. Well, with the graphite that's on the blender, I can just run that down there just to create that line that I can see there on the wall. Right, okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to give all these doorways a very flat tone of 2H pencil. I know we've got bushes and things in front of them, but just to start the process off, just a very flat light tone of 2H. Okay, so that's all shaded in there. Now I know there's another door just there, but in the reference photo it's pretty hard to see. You can make out the dark shape, but there's like certainly foliage on the lower part of it, but I don't know, is it hanging baskets or more of these plant pots? I don't know, it just looks like one big bush there. I mean, it would probably be easier just to do that, just to turn that into one big bush. Would it look odd, do you think? No, I think that would look alright, wouldn't it? I hope so. If it doesn't, we're in a mess, aren't we? But what we're going to do first is just make sure we've got the right tones and the right look and all the angles and everything on these doors. And on this one here, we've got some darker tones now. We've got the shadow there, just underneath the top part, and just a very light separation of tones on the inside of the door there. Okay, so with an HB, I'll just put that dark area in. That's probably a bit too dark. I'll go in with the 2H actually and just apply a bit more pressure. To that area, and then again we've got some bushes just growing over the bottom part there. We've got a similar thing going on with this one. You can just see a little bit of dark under the door there, but we've got to allow for a little bit of frame just around the edge. And okay, so that's dark in there. It's darker at the top and it kind of just fades out a little bit lighter in the middle. Not too light, I mean it's quite dark there. So hopefully at this stage of your drawing you should be experts now at balancing these mid-tones and lighter tones. Okay, so for the garage door, you just kind of see two lines running down that, so we'll just draw those in with a 2H. Make them a little bit thicker, and then we've got quite a dark line where the door meets the frame, and they look a little bit darker than the actual door itself. And then we've got this shadow running across the top of them, and I can just kind of see it kind of follows the shape of the doors a little bit there, like just slightly curved. That's what it looks like to me anyway in the reference photo. So we can shade that in, try not to lose the lines. Probably going to lose the lines now because I'm just going to blend that a little bit. Probably a bit too much. use a 3H and just under there, keep it a little bit lighter. Yeah, I think that looks a lot better. Just maybe a little bit of graphite smeared over that. And that shall do for that. Right, okay, I think I'm going to take a break now. I certainly need one. And what we'll do, we'll come back and make another video, and we'll get all these bushes in, and we'll get this road and all the shadows in there, and we can call that one done. Okay, so I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.